Welcome to Let's Talk About It with Amy Schreiber, where we talk about life's journey, the market, and everything in between. I am your host, Amy Schreiber. I'm a local realtor in the state of Florida, servicing the Tampa Bay area. I am joined by my co-host, Katie Easling. Katie, what are we talking about today?
So today we are on episode 4. I cannot believe that we're already here. We just talked about episode 3 last week, where we discussed your beginning climb of the corporate ladder and your start at the uniform company. And that is, I believe, where we're going to pick up.
Excellent. Yes. I had been servicing a newly acquired division that we talked about. So I did that and going back to school, right? To get my
Right.
associate's degree. I probably did that for a good year. Until they were fully implemented, onboarded, and they had their team in place in order to support that division with corporate because I was part of corporate. So then I was asked to take another position. It was in material management. I was a supervisor. So it was really managing our uniform production orders, expediting them, prioritizing them for the organization. And so I worked closely with our offshore partners and, of course, our domestic partners. And that was a great opportunity for me to really learn more about the business, which I had learned a little bit as I was servicing, right, the new division. But this was really intriguing to me. I was looking at data. I think that's where my analytical experience really started improving and really started to find a love for that. But I think I did, and this was a role, and I've always had roles where people come up to me and are like, I'm so glad you're in that seat because I don't want it. They've been those challenging positions, right? Because, sometimes the information I would give them on a date that person would then have to translate to their client, and maybe it's 3 to 4 months out, isn't always a good situation, right? So for them to be on the front lines, that was hard, and they would sometimes come back to me and just that pressure, right?
Yeah.
But it was all good. I loved it. So I did that for probably a couple years. And then I wanted to move into a different role. And I'm like that, I think. And my career, I've always, after a few years in or a couple years, I just want to do something a little different. I want to learn
Right.
something new. And unfortunately, nothing was able to be worked out to move into another position in that company. So I left for a short period of time. And then they called me back. They were building a new group and told me about the position, and it was managing the $1 million clients, doing an element of everything I had done previously, right? So
Right.
I was like, this is awesome. This is going to be fantastic. And it was for a short period of time. Um, and so I know when I got into the seat, super excited to be back. I really enjoyed working for that company. I had, obviously learned a lot of good things and was able to bring a lot to the table and to help kind of, build the team. I know I had interviewed one of the new agents or what have you. So that was good, right? It was a good feeling. It was like, okay, I made a good decision,
Yes.
right? Because I think we always worry, and I've always been one to take risks in my career. And there are times where they work out, and there are times where they don't work out. And you kind of have to figure out, what do I need to do in order to shift, right? Because I know for myself, when I am not happy um, in a role, I try to find the reason, right? Why am I not? Do I need to just adjust this or that? Or is there an additional process I need to put in place in order to, make it more efficient or something, right? Whatever is really getting me. But if I can't figure it out or I can't solve something, I will end up looking for another opportunity that's just been who I am, because I never want to be in a position where I'm grouchy, I'm negative. I'm just not a negative person by, I don't know what it is, but it's just not in my person, right? To focus on negativity. So yeah. So anyways, that's why I'd initially left, just because we couldn't figure something out. But I came back, everything was good, and then I think a few months in, they hired a manager, which is what they were going to do. I knew going in, right? And was hoping for the best, right? And I was a team lead, and, I had a couple team members. And unfortunately, this new manager, and as all new managers coming in, right? They hear, oh, you've got these people, they're good, they're this, they're that. And then they get to form their opinion, right? And you always hope that that opinion is based on fact, um, or they do their homework to really get to know someone. But unfortunately, she did not like me. uh, it's, and I think that's a point I want to kind of touch on too. I've had maybe a few managers who for some reason just haven't been impressed, and that's okay. Not everybody has to like me, right? But overall, I've always done the job, I've always helped others, I've always, been a team player. And I think sometimes even with larger companies, which we'll get into in the future episodes, I think sometimes with the change of guard, change is great. I love change, right? With management, etc. But it is hard on the people who are doing the work, the people who are left back, right, to do what they need to do, because you always have that 6 months of, okay, do they like me? Am I doing what this person wants me to do now? Because it's different than what that person wanted me to do, you know? So I think that's always a struggle. But again, like I said, don't know why, and that's fine. Everybody is entitled to their likes, dislikes, etc. But that particular move, right? And with this new manager coming in, I was 6.5 months pregnant. And my son, who had been born when I first started working for the company, about 7 months old, he started having seizures. So, all throughout this, right, working 55 hours a week, going to school, getting new positions, which again was my choice. I was also with support, right, managing, raising a child who was having seizures. At that time, maybe a few every quarter or something, right? So it wasn't significant, but it still was a lot. And I say it wasn't significant. A seizure is significant. I am not downplaying that at all, because it's scary, especially when they're a baby and you have no idea what's going on with your child. But, we got, I was seeing a neurologist, etc. So, raising my son, doing what I need to do in order to continue to move up that ladder. And then I remember I was 6.5 months pregnant, and, a lot of stress, additional stress with this person just having it out for me for whatever reason. And it wasn't just me thinking it. I had been told, right, from other people who had noticed, had heard, etc. I remember I was sitting at my desk, and I had just gotten back from a test. Everything was fine with the baby, but I hadn't been really feeling the baby move around a lot. I started cramping, and I think it was after a meeting with her. I can't, something to do with her. And I'm not saying I don't blame anyone for this, right? I mean, it happened, and these things unfortunately happen for a reason. I remember just having this scared feeling. I was losing my child. So, we went to the doctor, immediately. Of course, they hook you up to the ultrasound, and never, I knew before that I had lost Alex. His name was going to be Alex, or his name was Alex. And the doctor confirmed it. His heart was not beating. So, that was hard. And like I said, it's no one's fault. Um, Maybe I should have left sooner. I don't know, but it's no one's fault. It happened, and we don't know what his health would have been like if he had survived. I mean, there's all these things, right, that go through your mind, and everything happens for a reason. I do believe in that, even in your darkest hour, right? And maybe not at the time. It was hard to believe that, but I do now. But anyways, so yeah, I think whenever anything big has happened in my life, I reflect and I make a change. And I'll tell you, although it's not her fault, although it's not the company's fault, it's no one's fault, right? I just want to make sure that's very clear. It's just circumstances. I made the decision, and I think I was out of there. I don't think I gave 2 weeks notice, and that was like a no, but they just didn't know why. Senior management just didn't know why. The owners didn't know why. But I left. I found another position. Again, I didn't make a rash decision. I needed this position to be an improvement, and it was because of the network I had built within the organization. I was able to obtain my new position at in purchasing at a fast food corporate restaurant, or a fast food restaurant corporate office. But yeah, I couldn't. It was time for me to leave. Um, so yeah, that would start my journey, continuing to climb that corporate ladder.
I love what you reflect upon a little bit here in that not to be afraid of those changes. And you are such a good example of having the courage to make a change and not staying stuck in a position that wasn't fulfilling to you. And then when it turned toxic, absolutely not continuing to stay. So thank you for sharing your story. I know this was a really hard one, but I know people need to
Yeah,
hear it.
I think it's important, right? And you're absolutely right on. And I think also we don't talk enough about the losses that we have, both women and men, right? Because obviously it happens to both. But yeah, so I just don't give up, just keep going. And yeah, I think taking risks, like I said, in my career have always been the right thing to do. There are some things, your the mountains that you climb, right? You got your ups and downs, right? And but yeah, it's those risks that I've taken have always proven to be for the best, and they have made me who I am today.
I think again, like you touch on this some, but you make intelligent, calculated risks, and I think that's where you're not just jumping into an abyss. You're like, this is the logical next step for me. This is the direction that I want to go, and knowing that, and then also having the courage to take it. So thank you very much for sharing your story, and thank you for sharing today.
Thank you. So next